Hey everybody, this is Alzorath, and welcome back to another episode of Diablo 2 Builds. This is actually one that I didn't actually intend to show off so early. I was actually going to name a character specifically for it, which his name would have been Shigurui. I'm mispronouncing that horribly, and I apologize, but it's actually based on an anime. This was actually supposed to be a joke build that I was going to go for with the character whenever I eventually got around to it. But I ended up making it on Conan so I could actually try it out, and it turned out to be a little bit better than I thought it was actually going to be. And that is a Death Frenzy Barbarian. Yes, there's better frenzy ones, but how much fun is it to say you are literally the Death Frenzy? You're using two death weapons. You could do this with swords. I chose Berserker axes because they have the 2 range adder for an axe, which is the same as your two-handed swords that you'd actually be using this, which would be Colossus Blade or Colossus Sword. And yeah, this is actually a faster attack speed, so it's still kind of unwieldy to control at times, but it's actually kind of good. So let's go ahead and do this in the usual order. We're going to start with stats, go into skills, and then go into equipment. This being a themed build, there's going to be some limitations on it. You can, of course, take the theme out of it, and I'm going to try to give you enough information that you could possibly run an interesting build with just like a frenzy focus, just a frenzy barbarian. You can do other things with it. The grief frenzy is actually kind of fun as well, but it's just something you kind of have to decide for yourself. The other option I was going to actually go with is a death and destruction frenzy, but this is just straight death frenzy. Anyway, we've got enough strength for gear. I've got actually a bit high for this because I have enough base strength for gear. That way I can swap stuff out as I want and not really have to worry about it too much as far as like requirements and things like that. So if I wanted to, say, switch off boots where I'd lose... Actually, my boots don't give me strength right now. Let's see, what gives me strength? If I wanted to switch off my belt for, say, a string of ears, which doesn't give strength, then I'd be fine with the rest of my equipment. So I can actually sort things around and switch out weaponry and equipment. As far as vitality, I got up to 1500 base life because barbarians generally, I feel, need a little bit more base like oomph to them. As far as survivability, I don't know why I just have worse luck with them if I go a little bit lower compared to like the paladins, which I'm usually comfortable with around 1000. Barbarians, I generally want to be around 1500, which is kind of rough, but it's there. I think it's because the auras mostly, but they give me that little extra bit of a buffer. But yeah, I tried to get to 1500 with him, and then the rest I've been putting into dexterity. You can see we have an okay chance to hit most things. Baal, I believe, is a 75% chance to hit, which means he's a little bit slow, but you get him down to that halfway point relatively quickly, and you just stay in his face, leeching off of him. So it's not too bad. This character does better when surrounded, if it's one of those characters where you want a lot of enemies on screen, so it's actually easier to control. Frenzy damage, don't let that fool you. We have a lot of crit strike and we have a lot of crushing blow, so 5,000 becomes 10,000 very quickly. And yeah, slightly different damage because, well, we have 2 different axes for it. Resistance is really easy to get on a barbarian, no energy, and that's your stats. As far as skills go, this should be fairly obvious. We're going for frenzy. I, of course, wanted to get my one-off points in battle command, battle orders, shout, and howl. I've just been dumping into taunt for the synergy purposes because this actually has a synergy with taunt. We'll go over that in just a minute. Other 1-point wonders down into natural resists and increased speed because still a little bit of extra speed is nice. You can skip these 2 and actually get more in synergy because whenever you're in a combat situation, you're actually going to be moving a little bit almost uncontrollably fast. That would help management slightly, but not that much because frenzy still boosts your speed a lot. Max axe mastery if we're going axes. If you're doing swords with this, go sword mastery. General, just good practice for barbarians. And the rest of the skills, I have 1 point in leap attack for mobility. I can actually just swap over to it. That lets me get across places like the River of Flame quickly, so I don't have to worry about using teleport or anything like that. Generally speaking, this character, while I can use teleport because I do have alt that actually has a decent enough faster cast rate on it. We've got 2 Heart of the Oaks. And they were actually on here because I was going to do a Warcry Barbarian first. But we have decent faster cast. We could do teleport with Enigma if you want to and save 2 more points there. I just prefer this because it's a lot easier for me to manage just with this particular character. I would need more faster cast to really, really want to go Enigma on this character. Now, as far as the main skills, you want 20 Frenzy and 20 Berserk. You're not going to be using Berserk as a main attack. Frenzy receives a magic damage boost based on Berserk, so you want to get 20 and 20, so you can actually have that 20% magic damage. That way you can bypass physical immunes. This character does not really have a problem with any kind of enemies, because generally speaking, they can only have 2 immunities. You're doing a bunch of glacial spikes, you're doing a bunch of physical damage, and you're doing an okay amount of magic damage. And with the current equipment, we're also doing a little bit of stuns and a little bit of like other elemental damage as well, just off of like random charms and stuff like that. So it tends to work pretty good. And we also have enchant on here for some fire damage. It's just a cluster, but it's there. And we also have points into double swing for additional damage. You can see that works out pretty good here. So you actually have, let's see, 428% damage boost, which is not bad. Attack speed boost and run speed boost, 182% run walk speed at peak frenzy, which is freaking insane. So yeah, it gets a little bit unwieldy to control. And like I said, the rest of it into taunt for the synergy for damage. It just keeps going up. Now, as far as the equipment goes, I aimed for, usually I'm going to aim for 50%. We actually have 65% here, which does get us to another breakpoint if I remember correctly. But yeah, 20% on Lava Gout, which gives us enchant, which increases our attack rating, which does help out. That's how we get up to the 75% on Baal. Gives us an attack rating boost, gives us increased attack speed, a little bit of fire damage, a little bit of resist and stuff like that, half freeze duration, although the half freeze duration is pointless because we are a melee character, and I always use Ravenfrost on melee characters because cannot be frozen is priceless. And yeah, I generally am going to almost always use that on melee characters whenever there's a chance that being frozen would make them shit. So that's going on him. On the belt, I have Nosferatu's Coil. This is actually just here for increased attack speed. Life Leech is nice on it. Generally speaking, with what I have on this character currently, we don't need more Life Leech. You can get more if you're having trouble managing it, but that's just because you could actually put a dual leech ring here for some extra life leech. You can swap out a few things for extra life leech, but yeah, this just gives us life leech, increased attack speed, and slow target, which helps us a little bit even more with crowd control. But this is amazing at crowd control because we freeze and stun just by swinging our axes really fast. We hit relatively quick breakpoint, not the maximum breakpoint, because if I remember correctly, the maximum breakpoint is somewhere around, geez, I want to say 100 and something increased attack speed, which we're not reaching. So anyway, I put Carrion Wind on here because I had nothing else to do with it. It gives me some life leech, it gives me some Twister on striking, which is actually kind of effective and fun. Poison Nova every now and then being a little bit of a help as well. Just to deals a little bit of poison damage, but that Twister actually becomes clutch every now and then, just stunning a whole swath of enemies for a very short period of time while we're getting off more hits. Keeps me from getting reaction locked, although we generally have a fairly fast reaction speed because we do have enough hit recovery that we need to get, I think, 20% more to actually hit the next breakpoint. So it's getting to that point where you might not be investing in it. You could do charms for it though. And I have a lot of attack rating charms, if you were wondering what I actually have down here. It's attack rating. We have a little bit of magic find, just some stuff sitting in there. It's just stuff to let me hit easier. You definitely could do way better on the charms for this character than what I have here. And it's effective with garbage ones. But we have Gore Riders for extra Crushing Blow. This brings us up to 65% Crushing Blow per swing, which is just really good. That's going to be over half the attacks are just going to be chunking life off the enemy on top of your normal damage. You have 15% Deadly Strike plus 44% Deadly Strike on here. As we start leveling up, that'll get higher. So generally speaking, about a little bit under two out of every 3 hits is going to be double damage. So that's going to be nice. And we also have Open Wounds on here, which is just frosting on the cake. It's just good. As far as the armor, I'm going Chains of Armor for resists. You could go Enigma. I actually have Enigma in the stash because that's actually better for a Warcry Barbarian. This is all resistances plus 65 is probably the most important thing on here. Damage reduction, 8% life leech is also nice as well. Demon and Undead damage boost is good. Plus 2 all skills is always good. A little bit of magic find, not bad. High Lord's Wrath we're using for the increased attack speed. Everything else on here is bonus. And that actually, I think we might be, let's see, 33, 44, that's 77 plus 15. Puts it at 82, 92. So yeah, 9 out of 10 attacks are actually critical Deadly Strike. I forgot this had that on there. So yeah, you might reach 100% double damage with this setup. I completely forgot that was on there. I was using it for attack speed. As far as the helmet, Ariat's Face is just a good go-to. I currently have a 50% increased attack speed and a resistance On the jewel, it's a magic jewel. It's not rare, unfortunately. But it gives 15% increased attack speed and some resist all, which caps me out, which is pretty much what I was going for. I use this for a few different builds, so I had to actually have it be kind of generic in that kind of realm. Faster hit recovery is nice on here because that brings you up a few breakpoints. That 30% does. It brings you up the initial few. 20% boost to attack rating is nice. A little bit of life leech. We have got life leech all over the place just sitting on this. It just comes with the territory. And our axes have the mana leech that we need. But yeah, just plus skills, really good helmet. Love getting that. Always keep a few of those around if you run barbarians a lot. As far as the weapons, these are both ethereal superior berserker axes. The one over here was a 5% enhanced damage. This one was 11%, I think. This is actually higher than max. This one, they can roll up to 385 base on death. You have a damage boost from ethereal, and you could, theoretically, if you had a 15% plus perfect death plus ethereal, probably get a significant amount extra damage over even what I have here. I think it goes up to 400% with that because you'd have 385 plus 15, which puts it at 400, as opposed to 394 and 383, which is what I have right now. And these are actually pretty good death rolls. Everything else is static on them. The main reason I wanted to make this was because it has Glacial Spike on attack. I can actually use these on other characters, so I wasn't too offended by using the Vexes for this. The Gulls, I actually don't use that often, so yeah, it's one of those things where I do have extra Gulls sitting around, so I was like, okay, we'll go for it. And yeah, lightning damage, mana steal, 50% crushing blow is actually really good. If I remember correctly, they don't stack because they're separate weapons, so you'd actually have it 50% on the left hand, 50% on the right hand. And Blood Golem charges that we never use, Deadly Strike, it's a good weapon. The only downside to it is it does not have increased attack speed, so you have to use it in a relatively quick weapon. The main weapons I was considering for it were War Spikes, but I didn't have any superior ethereal ones, so I just ended up going with the Berserker axes. War Spikes do have a smaller range adder, which makes it even harder to hit, and you'll notice whenever we do the demonstration, it's going to be relatively hard to like find the enemies whenever we're just running around super fast. A two-handed sword option was also there as well. Colossus Blade or Colossus Sword. Ethereal, if you can, 5-socket. They're a little bit slower, but they do a little bit, well, one of them does a little bit more damage. But these are just a good balance of everything. The only real downside to the axes for me is they look dinky as hell, even when they're not ethereal. I really wish they would have made the axes a little bit more imposing, a little bit more heft to them, and I do wish we actually could have had one-handed axes and two hands. That way I could have used glorious axes for this. But no, we can't. I can just imagine how fun that would be with glorious axes. And on the Switch, we have 2 Heart of the Oaks just for +3 all skills, 40% faster cast rate, which gives us a boost to our war cries, which makes these actually last a reasonable amount of time. So let's go ahead and jump into the Frigid Highlands. I will go ahead and do my war cries. I'm not going to go ahead and bug the mercenary, but usually I would for this character because I can tank for him. So yeah, just consider that he wouldn't be here tanking for me if I actually did him properly. But you can see these guys are cold immune, so you can't see the real effect of the Glacial Spike, but you can see how often the tornadoes are coming out. The Glacial Spikes are coming out even more, and yeah, they freeze things. And I think we actually just got a freeze on something there as well. Yeah, these guys are immune to fire, so they're going to get frozen whenever we actually do that. And you can see it gets a little bit unwieldy whenever you're moving really fast. But yeah, this thing just rips through stuff. We're on players 1 right now, but it just really goes in there and rips things to pieces. It freezes things, it stuns things, it makes things regret ever encountering you, and whenever enemies cluster up, it becomes just a complete cluster of nightmares for them, because guess what? Everything you're throwing out, except for your actual axe swings, are splash damage. So I can only imagine this becomes even better in whatchamacallit, Path of Diablo, whenever you actually have things like splash damage jewels, which, yeah, that's a thing in that mod. So we can actually rip all these things to pieces. You can see whenever we start getting like surrounded and stuff like that, that's whenever we start performing a lot better, because we can actually just kind of click around our character and it's just always going to find something, and we got 2 eyes and hearts in this. Jesus Christ. But yeah, that's pretty much how this thing performs. It's a little bit slower whenever you get down to like bosses and stuff like that. I tend to prefer just swarms for what it wants to fight. This was literally just a theme build for fun. But you can see that we are ripping things to pieces. This guy will try to revive folks, but he's not going to have much success. And yeah, it's not bad. It just kind of just rips through everything. I like going through a lot of different places with it. I actually like World Stone Keep with it. Only time that it really kind of sucks is whenever you're dealing with a bunch of skeletons. You can see it's knocking out a lot of these even like tougher enemies in 1 or 2 hits. So yeah, it's not a problem to actually play through with this. If you have the resources to get this though, chances are you're already in the late game kind of gear. You can see, yeah, whenever we can't leech life, we're not doing so well, but it goes right back up as soon as we start dominating the enemies. So let's see, what else can we actually demonstrate with this build? Let's go ahead and refresh our war cries. Yeah, you do actually have to refresh a little bit on this character because they are relatively low level compared to like a war cry centered barbarian who could actually invest the points into stuff like shout. But yeah, you can see things just get ripped to pieces. Let's go ahead and go down here. I actually had really good luck against the Lister with this build as well whenever I was testing it out. So let's go ahead and try him. Let's try off Lister here. Oh wow, we're actually closing in on the episode length limit as well. That's not as good. And another advantage of Glacial Spike, it shatters corpses. We don't need to worry about any of this stuff really. But it shatters corpses so those guys can't revive them. So let's go ahead and just get up here, get up towards the main show. I think I might want to actually do the mercenary thing just to get him kind of settled away so he doesn't get murdered whenever the thing starts spawning. But let's go ahead and just beat them all up. I'm going to go ahead and jump cut until we get to Lister, though, so we don't have like a 1,000,000-hour-long episode. Okay, we're getting close to Lister, so I went ahead and I'll come back during the Venom Lords. These are a little bit tougher because, well, they're just going to pile up on me and dogpile, and then we'll have to use like a healing potion to actually get through them every now and then. They can be a little bit tougher. Unfortunately, our oh yeah, as soon as I get the antidote potion drop, he unpoisons his butt. You bastard. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But we've got Lister here, so let's go ahead and beat the crap out of him. You can see that we are getting stunned a little bit. We are decrepified, and they are kind of dogpiling on me, but as you can see, we just outleash them, and we just rip them to pieces, because guess what? Those glacial spikes do work. They freeze the Lister guys, which is insane. And that is just how easy those Lister the Tormenter is with this particularly weird build. So, yeah, if you see a anime-named character coming through, that's what it's for. I'm going to actually make it this build permanently, so we'd actually have, like, a steady go on it. But Baal, you can see, not really as quick, because we're just not hitting him as much as we want to be. You can see he does go down relatively quickly early on because we got that crushing blow, but as soon as he hits that halfway point, the crushing blow stops working, and we just got to start relying on just slapping him with the stick kind of situation, which it's not bad. He's not terribly slow, but he's also not terribly fast. I'd much rather have like a sorceress or something like that that can dish out a lot higher damage faster. But against the rest of the stuff, not so bad. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I can actually recommend the Death Frenzy Barbarian. It's actually fun. It reminds me of one of my old fun barbarian builds as well. And it's also themed, which is very uncommon for the kind of like effective builds. So yeah, keep gaming, have fun, peace out. This has been Alzorath. Bye.